Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the New Weight Paradigm. I am your host, Deanna Bedoya, and I'm happy that you're here again today. Today's episode is pretty timely given what time of the year we are in right now. We're getting into the summer season, and I know a lot of people have plans for vacations, even weeks off or weekends away, perhaps. And these vacations or these times we take away with our friends and family, these are often times when maybe some of the health behaviors that we've aligned with and that we feel really good about that we're doing, those kind of fall off, as they invariably do. Because your environment changes, because you're around different people, because you're out of what you normally do. Your behaviors change when you're in a different type of environment. And even if you're not going away anywhere this summer, well, I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, so we're about to enter summer. I find summer in general is a time when our behaviors are challenged. If you live in a place with a harsher winter, a lot of people look forward to the summer, and because the summer is so different than the winter, we are doing different things. We're exposed to more people sometimes. We're up later. We are doing different things. And like I said, when our environments change, when the things around us change, our behaviors often change as well. So if you're someone like me that really wants to prioritize health and feel good in my body, sometimes when I do go on vacation or I am in the summer season, I notice that my health behaviors, they change. And, some of that's fine, but some of that takes me away from the desired place I'd like to be. And the desired place I'd like to be is to feel really strong and healthy in my body, to be regularly moving my body so I feel, fit, and, eating in a certain way where I feel in control of my food behavior and I don't feel bloated or like I've eaten too much, because that's an uncomfortable feeling for me. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about going on vacation, or just being in a different environment, or just the summer season, and how you can still enjoy the crap out of your life, because you should enjoy yourself on vacation. You should enjoy yourself during the summer. You should enjoy yourself all the time. How do you still enjoy your life while, keeping on track with those health behaviors that are important to you? Okay, so that's today's episode. Hopefully you know me by now, but my name is Deanna Bedoya, Deanna spelt Diana, and I'm a weight educator, I'm a health coach, and I'm also a senior lecturer at Simon Fraser University in Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada, where I teach courses in health and nutrition and obesity and weight management. And I know where my lane is, and my lane is in education. What I like to do is explain things and make things palatable and relatable to humans. So that's what I'm trying to do here with the New Weight Paradigm, is to give you an overview of how your weight is regulated. But if you do choose to take a weight-based approach to your health, how do you do that without messing up your mental health? And how do you do that with also enjoying your life? Because it's all about enjoying your life. What's the point of any of this if you're not enjoying your life? Okay, so that's the New Weight Paradigm. If you like this podcast, you like this YouTube series, you like my shorts, click subscribe, click like, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on Spotify. I don't know how to do that, but I hear that's what all the cool kids are doing. But all that helps. It's a little bit of extrinsic motivation. It's something that it feels good when I get it, and I'm doing this series for intrinsic reasons as well, but those reinforcers do help. So that's always amazing, and thank you for being here. So like I said, today's episode is all about staying healthy while on vacation, and I'm just to get a little personal here. I'm very blessed, very privileged to have spent the last month away. So I was in Australia for 3 weeks, and I was in Hawaii for 1 week. Yes, you should feel sorry for me. No, don't. I'm very blessed to have a job that gives me a bit of flexibility every once in a while to be able to do something like that. But I had a great time away. It was fantastic. And I saw koalas. I saw kangaroos. I saw sea turtles. Oh my God, it was incredible. And I built relationships, and I spent, some really good quality time with my husband, and I ate really good food and tried really good cocktails during that vacation as well. But I was still able to come back feeling good in my body. And this is something that I'd always struggled with in the past. Like, I've gone on vacations in the past, and I've always actually had like vacation anxiety in the past, because I'm like, well, I've been, working on my health or eating healthy or moving my body, and I'm so worried that I'm going to go on this vacation and everything's going to, go to shit, that I'm going to start like eating in a way that doesn't feel good, moving not so much, and I'm going to compromise my health and my health goals. And this time I really didn't have any anxiety about this trip with relation to that, because, well, first of all, if my body changes, that's just part of how bodies work, is they change sometimes, and I'm no longer peg my self-worth to how my body looks. For the most part, it does creep in. That does creep in sometimes, where my body does compromise my current state, but for the most part it doesn't. And it's funny, because a friend of mine asked me right before I left on vacation, she's like, a friend who's like also pretty active, she's like, what's your exercise plan? Like, what are you going to do for exercise? And I like gave her some answers. I was like, oh, well, hotel gyms, and I'm going to bring resistance bands, and I'm going to go on hikes and whatever else. But the truth is that when she asked me that question, first of all, that question would have been triggering a number of years ago. So it was fun that it wasn't triggering. And number two, I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't worried about it because, as I said in the How to Stay Motivated with Exercise podcast, when you link your identity with your health behaviors, it becomes easier to do those health behaviors. So for instance, I am an active person. I am a healthy person. And because I identify as an active person, because I identify as a healthy person, that is something that I prioritize no matter where I am. So I knew that on this vacation, and it could have gone the other way too, but I was pretty confident on this vacation that keeping my health behaviors in check would be possible. And so based on that, I'd like to offer some thinking, some ways of looking at your vacation in a way where, you're going to stay healthy, or you're going to stick with the health behaviors that you value. And you're going to do that in a way where it doesn't compromise your mental health, because that's always key. It doesn't compromise your self-worth, because that's always key. And where you can still enjoy your vacation. I think sometimes what we kind of don't get straight in our head is we think that like health and fun can't be together. That the things that are fun and exciting and that we enjoy are things that inherently compromise our health. And that sometimes is true. It depends what you consider to be health and to consider. Pardon me. It depends what you consider to be fun and exciting. But there's a way of reframing your health behaviors. So, engaging in these healthy behaviors actually helps you enjoy yourself more. Actually helps that vacation be more exciting and be more fun. And again, without compromising your mental health. Okay, so that's today's goal. And as always, in the new weight paradigm, no matter what we are doing, remember that if we're talking about exercise, if we're talking about managing cravings, if we're talking about, staying healthy on vacation, we always want to start from a place of fundamental self-worth. So you might watch this video, you might listen to this podcast, and you're about to go on vacation, and you have a plan, and you have good things in your mind as far as how that vacation is going to go. And let's say you don't follow the health behaviors that you intended to follow, right? This doesn't make you any less worthy. This doesn't change your worth as a human. This doesn't devalue you, right? It's feedback is what that is. That's feedback about maybe the plans you made, or the way you try to execute it, or how the environments influenced you. That's all feedback that we can use to kind of come back to what our values are and then move forward from that. So no matter what happens, so let's say you watch this video and you have all these good plans, but then you go on vacation and you revert back to the behaviors you typically have on vacation. There's no judgment with that. There's no shame with that. It's actually really hard for the brain to change. And the brain wants to typically do what it's used to doing. So it is costly to make changes in our lives. It takes work. Straight up, it takes work. And it's easier to just do what you've always been doing. So if that's what you end up doing when you go on vacation, just like, please don't add shame and guilt to that. Treat it as feedback. You know, do a little debrief session with yourself and be like, why did it go this way? Right? And how do I want to change it for the future? Okay. But no matter what, no matter if your body does change in a desired direction or not, or in the opposite direction, you know, your worth doesn't change. I always want to start with that. So never forget that. Okay. So the question I want to start this session with is I want to ask you, like, what do you want to get out of this vacation? Right? What are your intentions with this vacation? So I like to just think about that a little bit, maybe when I'm on a flight or when I'm driving somewhere, be like, what do I want this vacation to be like? It's always great, in my opinion, to set intentions because like they guide my expression. They guide how I show up when I have some sort of intention. So is your intention with this vacation to really relax? Is your intention with this vacation to sightsee? Is your intention with this vacation to be really active? Is your intention with this vacation to like recover from burnout? You know, and so knowing why you're going on this vacation or what you'd like to get out of it is kind of a good place to start, because then you know what would count as success for your vacation, right? So it's always good to think about that. And just as a side note, it's always good to check with the people you're traveling with about what their intentions are with the vacation as well. I've run into trouble when I've gone away with people and they're like planned from morning to night. They have every like hour of the day planned out. And if you're like that, no judgments, but that's not me. I'm very like, I have a loose plan and like, let's see what we want to do today. And I don't want to do something every day. I really want to have days where I do like very little or there's nothing planned or I just let the day kind of take me. But if you're with someone or if you're someone that's super planned out, it can be super frustrating when your travel styles don't align. So it's always, I think, really important before you even decide to go on vacation with someone or away with someone that you have like at least some sort of shared perspective on what you want to get out of that experience, right? Because if you go to like, let's say, you know, some sort of tropical country that also is very cultural, you know, and one person just wants to lay on the beach all day and the other person wants to like go on architectural tours and go visit castles and go like do all this more cultural activities. Those are two very different travel styles and they can compromise, you know, each of those people's enjoyment, right? But there's a way of working with that. But anyways, that's just a piece of life advice with traveling, right? It's a good place to start to just know what you want to get out of that vacation, because you want to come back and be like, yeah, that was refreshing. That was fun. That was like money well spent, because often these vacations are very expensive. And I find that everything is getting so much more freaking expensive these days. So make sure that if you're doing something that you're actually like getting your money's worth for it. Okay. So then the next question is, you're on vacation, you're going away, or you're just summering in general. And the question today was like, how do you stay healthy while on vacation? Well, a place to start with that question is, what does it mean to you to be healthy? We often say the word health and it's this like amorphous thing. It's just like this concept that we don't really define more clearly, because the term healthy means different things to different people. Right? So what would it mean if you were to come back from your vacation and you were to say, my goodness, I was so healthy on this vacation and I feel amazing. What did you do, or what was like foundational to that experience that made you say, yes, I was healthy? Right? And I would suggest having a little bit of flexibility with that. So like on the list of like what it might mean to be healthy is moving a lot. Right? I want to move a lot on my trips, typically, depending on what the intention of my trip is, right? But I want to move a lot and I'll feel successful if I have moved a lot. That said, if there's a day where I'm really tired or I just need rest, I don't have to move a lot every day either, right? I can still kind of look at the whole vacation or the time away and be like, well, I didn't move every day or even every other day, but I did it enough that I feel successful. So my point is that this is going to be very personal. What you consider to be success. Is being healthy on vacation eating a certain way? Maybe eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, maybe eating a lot of whole foods, maybe drinking lots of water. Is being healthy on vacation mean not drinking too much or doing too many drugs, if that's your flavor? Does it mean being healthy on vacation? Does that mean, working on your relationships? We can't forget about social well-being as a key part of health too. Does it mean being in a good mental health space? Or does it maybe mean for you, and this is okay, but like just be careful with what that might do to your mind space. Does being healthy on vacation mean not gaining or losing weight? Okay, so you get to choose, as always. That's always my thing, is that you always get the final word on what is right for you. I'm just here to give you suggestions so you can make decisions. Right? I give suggestions, you give decisions. My favorite Peloton instructor always says that. Dennis always says that. I give directions, you make decisions. Okay, so the question here is, what does it mean for you to be healthy on this vacation? Does it mean moving a lot? Does it mean eating a certain way? Does it mean drinking a lot of water? Does it mean not drinking too much alcohol? Does it mean promoting good mental health? Does it mean resting a lot? Right? So have it clear in your mind what success might look like. Okay, so that's a starter concept. And then once you know, like, okay, well, this vacation's about this, and on this vacation, I want to stay healthy in this way. Now it's like, okay, how are we going to make sure that we are healthy in that way? What is going to inspire me? What's going to motivate me? What's going to keep me on track to actually follow through with those health behaviors? And if you watch my video on exercise motivation, something that was really key to that conversation centered around something called self-determination theory. And in that behavioral psychology theory, what's very key is, as far as motivating long-term change, or really being motivating as far as a particular health behavior in general goes, is having what we call intrinsic motivators of that behavior. So when we talk about intrinsic motivators, we're talking about really personal motivators that have to do specifically with the activity that you're partaking in, or that have to do specifically with your own experience of that activity. So for instance, an intrinsic motivator of why you might want to eat healthy and not drink too much is so you can enjoy yourself more. So for instance, when I have a night on vacation, or doesn't have to be on vacation, where I eat too much and I drink too much, the next day I feel like crap. And it as I get older, I feel like crap for longer and longer, right? So as much as I might have enjoyed that night before, I often don't enjoy the next day or the next 2 days, right? And I've been on a vacation with people where someone is out for a day or two, completely out for a day or two, because of all the usually drinking they've done on a particular night. And I'm finding as I get older too that there's a point where when I eat beyond that, I feel like crap. I don't like that feeling. And and what sucks about that is there's a delay between eating and feeling that way. So I might still be eating and thinking I'm fine, but maybe I've eaten too much and I'm feeling okay when I finish eating, let's say, but 20 minutes later I feel absolutely I don't feel good. And actually when I eat too much, my brain starts shutting down and I just want to go lie down. That's not fun for me anymore. It used to be fun because I prioritize the experience of food, which is amazing, over the experience I had in my body. But now my intrinsic motivator is I want to still enjoy the food, but I want to enjoy the food so I remember it in a way that's fun and it doesn't compromise my night and the next day too, right? So that could be an intrinsic motivator, right? So you can feel better each day. When I'm eating healthier, I feel better. When I'm drinking and not drinking too much or not mixing too much alcohol together, right, I tend to feel better. When I'm moving more each day, I tend to feel better, right? I enjoyed this vacation I was just on. I enjoyed it more because I was moving my body. And the few days where I didn't move my body in a row, they just didn't feel as good. I didn't enjoy myself as much. So sticking with these behaviors actually helped me enjoy myself more. And yes, an internal motivator might also be that you want to continue being healthy so you can maintain the health state that you feel good about. That means a lot to you. Okay? So these are all intrinsic motivators. And if you now understand this concept of intrinsic motivation, these are things that are very personal. They have nothing to do with anything else or necessarily any goals, right? They have to do with like enjoying eating healthy or enjoying being active or enjoying the feeling in your body, right? So now that you know that, you can play with that concept and see what sounds good to you. The examples I've given so far are like positive intrinsic motivators, but maintaining your fitness is another one. But I'll be honest, sometimes these negative intrinsic motivators can work too. You just want to be a little bit careful with making sure they don't negatively affect your mental health, right? So kind of on the negative side of intrinsic motivators is like, you don't want to feel bad. So instead of I want to feel good, that's a positive intrinsic motivator. I don't want to feel bad. That's more of like a negative. Like I feel guilty when I eat too much, right? So I don't want to feel guilty, so I'm going to eat more moderately. Okay, so that is an intrinsic motivator. Just be careful with guilt and be careful with shame, because they are like, oof, can they mess up with your mental health? Okay, but I gave you that example, like when I'm at a dinner and I'm like wanting to keep eating because it looks so good and it's colorful and it's new and it's like I want to try something new. I'm also thinking like, yeah, I could keep eating, but I'm gonna start feeling terrible if I eat too much. Or tomorrow's I'm gonna wake up with a full belly and I'm gonna wake up all bloated, and I don't like that feeling, right? So I'm trying to move away from a less desirable state, right? So I don't feel comfortable with my body when I'm, let's say, on vacation, and I feel uncomfortable in my body when I come back from vacation. I want to avoid those uncomfortable states, right? So I want to keep with my health habits. Okay. So the point here is that if you are going to be staying healthy on vacation, you need to have something really important to you. These values need to be clear to you as to why it's important to stay healthy on vacation. Because you're going to be tempted to not be healthy, right? To not drink a lot of water. You're going to be tempted to drink a lot, maybe. You're going to be tempted to eat a lot, right? Or just like not move your body in a way that feels healthy to you. You're going to be tempted to do these things because your environment's changed, the people around you have changed, and there's different stimulation, and the brain loves that stimulation. Okay? So because you're going to be probably tempted, it's really important to have very clear value systems so you can come back to those. So you can be like, well, I could keep eating because this food looks delicious, and oh my God, and I haven't tried this, and oh my gosh, my husband ordered chocolate cake and that looks so good, right? In that moment, it's important to remember your values. Whereas like you could keep eating that chocolate cake and, if you really want it, I'm not telling you not to eat it. What I'm saying is like, remember why it's important to you to not go outside of the health behaviors that you want to maintain, right? So yeah, I could eat that chocolate cake, but I know if I eat that chocolate cake, that extra, because I've already eaten enough and maybe I've already had my own dessert, I know that if I eat that chocolate cake, I'm not going to feel great. And it's going to affect the rest of my night. And it's going to affect tomorrow as well, right? And I love when I leave dinner not feeling too full because I can still enjoy the rest of my night. Those are intrinsic motivators, right? And whenever you make a good decision, just as a side note, a decision that you feel is in line with your values, it's always great to be like, yeah, I made that good decision. Give yourself a little bit of like yeah, I did it. Reinforce yourself. Don't expect other people to reinforce you. Reinforce yourself. Be like, I did it. I made a good decision. I'm proud of myself for that decision. Okay. And and I do that with my husband too, a little bit. That's a little bit of looking for external reinforcement. But nevertheless, after dinner, when let's say we've both eaten in a way that feels really good, I'll say that to him, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I'm really happy with the way I ate, because like it was so good and I really enjoyed it, but I still feel good in my body and I don't feel too tired. Like I have to go lie down, right? I love when we eat this way, so that reinforces that behavior. Now, so this section is about getting super clear on your why. I understand that sometimes external things are going to motivate you as well. I wanted to start with these intrinsic motivators, but extrinsic motivators can also be helpful for maintaining the health behaviors that you want to maintain, right? So maybe, for instance, you have some sort of fitness goal, you're participating in a longer walk when you get back, you are competing in a 5K run, you are going to hike this mountain or something else when you get back, and you don't want this vacation to compromise, let's say, your hard work. So that's sometimes it's a great thing to have those external motivators sometimes, because they do keep you on track. Sometimes, well, I used to do this, but I don't do it anymore. It's like I used to sign up for like 5Ks or 10Ks, or once, a couple times, a half marathon, when I liked running, back when I kind of enjoyed running, to keep me on track. And that's an external motivator, but it can be quite helpful. Okay, so if that works for you, and it, again, doesn't mess with your mental health, then that might be something that helps to keep you on track. And maybe you have someone or something that you're accountable to. Maybe you're accountable to your fitness tracker, right? Which like tells you how many calories you've burned every day, and you want to make sure that you maintain that rate of caloric burn each day, right? So you're kind of accountable, well, let's say to yourself in this case, but it still does something a little bit more external, right? Or maybe, you set a fitness plan with someone before you go, right? Or you have with the people you're traveling with, you have some sort of accountability plan, right? This is an extrinsic motivator, but it might help. And again, if you fall off, just be kind to yourself and then realize that you're human. But those extrinsic motivators, I'm not going to lie, they can help. Okay. And an extrinsic motivator that I know that a lot of people use when they go on vacation is that they don't want to gain weight. Right. And again, remember, in the new weight paradigm, you get to choose whether you want to have a weight-based focus for your health or not. Totally up to you. And I understand, fair enough, and I definitely have been here, and I'll be honest with you, that was a little bit in the back of my head on this past vacation. I understand that like not gaining weight or too much weight on vacation is a priority for some people, right? So again, that can be a very powerful extrinsic motivator. I'm always a little bit cautious of what that does to your mental health. So I don't want your obsession about not gaining weight to compromise your enjoyment of your vacation. And so there's a little bit of a balance there of like, how much do I actually want to focus on that? Okay. But I'll be honest with you, like when I'm out for dinner and I want to keep eating, sometimes in the back of my head is like, if I keep making decisions like this, I know my fat mass will go up, and that is not a desirable state for me, right? So I'd like to eat more moderately. So again, I feel great, but also so I keep my weight where I feel the most comfortable with it. Right? And then extrinsic motivators that are effective, unfortunately, but just be careful with, because again, we don't want to compromise our mental health, is like maybe an external motivator, an extrinsic motivator is like how other people see you, or how you think other people see you. Okay. So just be careful with that. I've taken that, it's always in the back of my head a little bit because I'm deeply conditioned with diet culture, but anyways, and I'm deeply influenced by other people, and I've spent a lot of my life trying to prove myself to a lot of people, and I'm a people pleaser, right? I do have in the back of my mind a bit of thoughts around like what other people think of me when I eat a certain way, or whether I gain weight or lose weight, but that's becoming quieter and quieter. And I'm more concerned about my own experience in this world. So I try not to use that as a motivator at all, because I know that that is a recipe for messing with my mental health, straight up. And no matter where my weight is, no matter what I look like, people are going to think what they think. And I have no control over that, right? And I can't keep living my life for other people. Okay. So to recap where we're at, okay? If you're going on vacation, main goal of vacation is what for you, right? For me, it's like having a good time. That's number one. Like making sure that my investment of lots of money is worth my time. I don't want to go away for a week, for a weekend, for an overnight and spend a bunch of money and come back and be like, well, that was a waste of time. And I come back feeling shittier. Okay. So for me, that's what is my vacation about? And then depending on where I go, the intention's a little bit different. Okay. Then the question is like, do I want to stay healthy on this vacation? What does it mean for me to be healthy on this vacation? Well, for me, it means eating a certain way, not eating too much, right? Not eating any kind of foods that promote discomfort. So there's certain foods that don't sit well with me, and I try to avoid those because they cause a lot of bloating. So that's also eating well for me. But it also means moving my body. It also means feeling good mentally and building relationships. That's what like healthy behaviors look like for me. And not drinking too much. That's also, I can be influenced by other people's drinking habits, and I don't like to drink as much as I used to. Okay, so what's my vacation about? What does it mean to be healthy? And then why do I want that? What are my intrinsic motivators? Why do I want that? Why is that so important for me to be healthy on vacation while still enjoying myself? Okay. And then, so you know what your vacation's about, you know what you want to do, you want to stay healthy, and you know why that's important to you. But like, what's going to come up to compromise those values? Because they're going to come up. Okay, so for me, the number one thing that affects my behaviors, my health-related behaviors, number one thing over and over again is my environment. Number one. It's not my emotions. For some people, it's their emotions. It's not even my thinking patterns, right? It's like 95% what other people around me are doing or what the environment around me is promoting. And if I'm in an environment or I'm in a social setting where there's lots of food, fun food, and there's lots of drinks, and people are acting in a certain way, I can get pulled out of my own ways of doing things and pulled into those ways of doing things. And so I know for me that I'm heavily influenced by lots of fun, exciting foods and a tasting menu. I love it. I love me a tasting menu. I can be influenced by drinks, although that's becoming less over the years, but even still, like a good bottle of wine. Oh shit, if I have a good bottle of wine, then I want a second bottle of wine, not just for myself, but to share. And I know that can influence me. And also sometimes on a vacation, I just want to do nothing. I just want to lay down and do nothing. And sometimes that's okay. But sometimes, like, I would say not being active, that can be something that really gets me away from my health behaviors. Okay, so what can get in the way? You have all these plans of what you want to do, and now what can get in the way of those healthy behaviors? So now that you know that, how can you make it, now that you know what can get in the way, you know what you want, you know what's important to you, how can you make it as easy on yourself as possible to stick with the behaviors that are important to you? So I'm going to give you some suggestions. Some of these are ones that I use myself and that I find very, very effective for myself. So one thing that's very key for me to maintain my physical activity behavior when I'm on vacation is to make plans that are more active, or plant seeds about how active I want to be. So for instance, on this last trip, I was going to visit one of my friends, Jodes, and she's like, oh, what do you want to do? I was like, I'd really like to be active. I'd really like to go hiking when we're visiting you in Townsville, and we go to Magnetic Island in Australia. Like, I'd really like to be hiking and outdoors. Okay, so I planted that seed and I tried to make active plans. And this is really going to depend on where you're going and whether that's like possible. But that was really important for me, is to have that on the agenda. So this day we're going hiking. This day we're going snorkeling. This day we're going swimming. This day I'm going to walk a lot around the city, right? So I make active plans. So what I'm doing is already embedded with physical activity. And here's something important that I want to say to that as well. And this kind of goes back to the video on exercise that I did on the last podcast. I talked about how we often think of exercise as like going to the gym and working out for 30 minutes to an hour. And yeah, that's how exercise or movement might look like for you. But don't discount movement on its own outside of a gym setting. So if you're getting 15,000 steps in a day, if you're moving your body a lot during the day, if your, let's say, fitness tracker tells you that you're being just as active when you go to the gym by walking all around the town, walking is an excellent form of physical activity. You don't have to hike a mountain to be active. Okay, so just like I think it's important to redefine how we look at exercise. And when I went on this vacation, I'm used to using my Peloton regularly, and I'm used to like doing like gym workouts and what else am I used to? Well, those two mainly, those weren't an option on this vacation. Very rarely. There was one gym that had a Peloton, so I did use that. But my old go-tos weren't there. So how can I be active without my old go-tos? Well, I'm going to move around a lot each day. I'm going to go for walks each day. We're going to go get something from the store. Well, it's a 3-minute drive or it's a 15-minute walk. I'm going to walk. Right? So make those plans and embed those active plans throughout your experience. Okay? If one of your goals is to drink more water, well, then bring a large water bottle with you. Right? When you get to the place you're going to go, let's say the drinking water isn't to your liking. I'm very selective with my drinking water. I'll go the first day and I'll buy a big thing of water so I already have it on me. So when I'm trying to make that good decision, if you're already set up for success and you're trying to make a good decision, and let's say you don't have that water bottle, you don't have clean water to drink, how are you going to drink the clean water? How are you going to make sure you drink enough if you don't have the things that you need to do that? Okay. Also, I think it's really important to bring any like equipment or fitnessy clothes that you might need, and think about how long you're going for. So, like I said, I'm someone that's quite active, and if I do go to a hotel with a gym, I'll almost always use it, especially if it's a nice gym, although there's a lot of really crappy hotel gyms out there, but that's another story. I always bring enough fitness clothes to have options for different days. Right? I want to make sure that I have a sports bra, I have fitness underwear, I have workout pants and a workout top, and maybe a cap if I'm doing something outside. So if I want to go exercise, I have what I need to do so. And maybe you also want to bring some travel-friendly fitness equipment with you. So for instance, I brought some resistance bands, right? You can do lots of different exercises, and you can just Google, you can YouTube resistance band exercises with you. Right? And then if you have someone you're traveling with, you'd be like, hey, this morning, do you want to do a resistance band workout? And then you follow one online, right? And that's a plan you do with someone. You bring a skipping rope. I'm trying to think of what else. There's not a lot of really great travel-friendly equipment, but there might be something that you want to bring with you that can help you stay motivated, okay? And then if you don't use it, don't feel bad. Remember, don't put guilt or shame in any of this, because that messes with our mental health, and positive mental health is such a key part to the new weight paradigm, okay? But running shoes or hiking shoes, that might also be important, okay? I also think it's a great idea before a trip to research. If you are a researchy person, I am not a very good researchy person, but my husband is. So I can sometimes put part of that on him, to research healthy food options. Or you might want to research where your accommodations are, and if there's a mountain nearby, there's a forest nearby, there's a gym that's associated with it, there's a pool that you can swim in, right? So I sometimes make accommodation choices based on where they're located or what kind of fitnessy options they have, okay? And also you might want to research what kind of food options are around there, and let's say you really want to go to this one restaurant or this 2 or 3 restaurants that you think you might eat a little bit more than you'd like to at those restaurants, can you find other food options that can help to kind of offset that you can feel really good and excited about, that are more kind of healthy as far as what your goals are? So one thing I often do when I'm on vacation and I'm like hungry at a particular time and I haven't planned enough, which happens far more often than I would like. But anyways, sometimes we're out and I'm like hungry and I want to eat something and I don't want to just like go through a drive-through because I know I'll feel not great. Drive-through food does not work for me. I'll put out my phone and I will Google healthy food near me, healthy restaurant near me. And I'll use that to find a food option that ideally looks delicious. I usually pick the ones that are like above 4.2 stars and have lots of reviews. And I pick options that I know are going to be delicious, but that are going to help me stay on track. Okay. Right? Ooh, yes, there's another suggestion that's really important. That's so key for me, especially when I'm in other people's homes or I'm in a hotel. It's very important for me to keep snacks, right? So one of the first things I buy when I go places or I take them with me is some sort of like protein bar. Okay, yeah, they can be more highly processed than some whole foods that I prefer to eat, but there are ones that are like less highly processed or whatever. My point is, having these protein bars on me often actually helps me eat less in the future. Because if I go the whole day without eating and I'm starving and then I go to a restaurant, I'm gonna eat twice as much. So it's really important for me to manage my hunger when I'm on vacation. And one of the main ways that I manage my hunger is making sure I have snacks on me, right? So protein bars work, like a few nuts can be really filling as well. Maybe you want to take some fruit with you, but I always try to have food on me so I'm not caught out starving with only crappy options around, okay? And if you are trying to manage your hunger, relying on snacks that are higher in protein, that's something that can often help you manage your hunger, not just when you're on vacation, but when you're at home as well. And then another question is there food you need to plan for? So often, like I said, when I tend to eat poorly is when I am out and maybe I'm following someone else's plan and, I haven't eaten enough that day. And we have no plan of when we're actually going to eat. And because we have no plan on when we're actually going to eat, by the time we actually do get somewhere, we decide on somewhere to eat, we didn't plan for it. So it's like the easiest option because your brain is like, I just need to eat right now. I'll eat whatever. I'll eat whatever. Just give me something. Give me food. So when I don't plan for it, then I'm caught out hungry because my hunger signals are going to be like, you need to eat, and they get louder and louder. That food noise gets louder and louder. So if I don't plan for it, I'll often eat poorly in a way that doesn't feel good to me, right? So do you need to plan? What actually frustrated me a lot on this last trip is that a few times I was out with other people and I was following their food plans. And sometimes it's like, oh, we're going to eat this afternoon. Well, we didn't really even eat breakfast. And now you're telling me we're not going to eat till 2. No. That doesn't work for me. But I'm in someone else's space. I'm in someone else's home. I'm in someone else's car. And so it's my responsibility to make sure that my food plan works for me. And that just might mean, like I said, bringing nuts or a protein bar or something else with you that that you can satisfy your own food needs. Okay. That said, I'm trying to give you some ideas that'll set you up for success, but just appreciate that if you are out of your natural setting, your environment is probably going to influence you. It's one of the main things that influences our eating behaviors and our movement behaviors, our health behaviors. So if you're on vacation and you're in a setting that your body and your mind aren't used to, you're going to be faced with a lot of new stimulation. And this stimulation often causes us to act differently, right? We see new foods, new exciting foods we want to try, right? And we are like, there's like a ding, ding, ding. Oh my God, I want to try that. That's going to influence you. There's no need to feel bad about that. But if you plan for success and you know why you want to stick to your health goals, and you're so freaking clear on your values of why you want to stay healthy on vacation, that can help you manage some of those environmental influences that take you off course. Okay? That said, well, not said, but continuing on that thought is that, and we talked about this when we talked about acceptance and commitment therapy in the exercise motivation video, is that you're going to have thoughts, emotions, maybe old mental scripts, and sometimes peer pressure that are going to take you off course. So you had the best intentions, you set yourself up for success, you had clear values as to why you want to eat a certain way, why you want to move a certain way, but those old thoughts started coming up. Your old thoughts about like, oh my God, I have to try this. This is my only opportunity to try this food. And if I don't try this food, I'm never going to try it again. And then blah, 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 blah. Or the old thoughts around body image or weight or other things that can kind of compromise your mental health and your well-being, right? Maybe your emotions changed during this trip. And actually, during this last trip I was on, I was around people that I know have affected my body image in the past. And and I thought I was past some of these feelings, but when I was around certain people, these old feelings started to resurface, and they started to resurface strongly. How am I going to deal with that? What do I need to remind myself of? How do I get back into my own brain? How do I get back into my own body? How do I stop letting other people influence me for the better or for the worse, right? Well, maybe for the better is a good thing, but how do I stop letting other people influence me for the worse? What am I going to do with these when these old mental scripts come up? Okay. So, like that's why I say aligning with your values, having a good foundation of solid self-worth is so important. But, if you're in an environment, you're around people that are provoking your emotions or provoking your thinking in a negative pattern, maybe you need to take yourself out of that environment for a bit. And that's actually something I had to do on this past trip. I had spent a lot of time with other people. I had no time to myself. And there was this one day where my mind, my mental health was not in a great place. And I started getting back into like you're fat and ugly territory, which is an old mental script I've told myself. And I was like, Deanna, what's up? So I watched that with awareness. Remember in ACT, in acceptance and commitment therapy, you like accept the thoughts that come up. And you're like, oh, I'm having these thoughts again. Okay, I see them there. I'm not going to judge those thoughts. These thoughts are telling me something. Okay, but I'm committed to my goals. I'm committed to self-worth. I'm committed to my health goals. I'm committed to feeling good in my body. I'm committed to showing up as myself and in full expression. Okay, but this right here, this situation and the thoughts and emotions and old mental scripts that it's provoking are getting me away from that. Okay, how am I going to deal with that? And for you, that might look very different than what it looked like for me. So for me, it meant going off, spending like half a day by myself, where I just went off and I just totally did my old thing. I went to the ocean. I just kind of sat there. I went and did a bit of shopping. I went to the restaurant by myself. I just needed to get myself out of the situation that was provoking some of these old thoughts. And that said, I understand that if you're traveling with family or if you're responsible for small children or children, period, it's harder to get away. So that's what worked for me in this situation. But I recommend realizing that there's going to be things that often come up, whether you're on vacation or not, that take you out of the headspace you prefer to be in, that take you out of the behaviors that you prefer to be engaged in, that provoke certain emotions that maybe trigger negative feelings within you. That's just part of being human, unfortunately, and relating to others. So I just want you to realize that can happen, and that's part of the human experience. And what can you realistically do for yourself in those moments? And maybe it's having a mantra, maybe it's just taking some deep breaths, maybe it's just a 5-minute meditation, maybe it's something that can help you get out of that headspace or that emotional space that's, bringing you back to a place you don't want to be in. Okay, and I'm being vague here because it really is so individual. But just accept that these things happen. But then remember, with acceptance and commitment therapy, we also recommit to what's important to us, which is why it's so important to have like clear intrinsic values and intrinsic motivators. Okay, so remember your values, right? And then when you fall off track, quote unquote, off track, when you go back to the behaviors that you were doing before, or you eat too much, or you drink too much, or you don't move for a few days, like step one, if that happens, step one is to forgive yourself, right? Step one is being like, okay, I'm aware that this happened. I see that it happened. Maybe you want to think about why it happened. Maybe you want to examine that, get a bit of feedback. Maybe you don't. But number one, you get off track. Number one, maybe you just tell yourself, oh, look, I'm human. I'm human and I'm asking myself to do something hard. And so I reverted back to what I did before that my brain is used to doing on vacation, right? So number one, forgive yourself if you are engaging in behaviors or you go away from the behaviors that you'd like to engage in. Okay. And then what's your plan to get back on course? So for instance, there was one day where we went to this restaurant and we ate too much and we drank too much. It was really good. It wasn't that good, but it was pretty good. What we ate, the wine was really good. That's what got me. And I ate too much and I drank too much and I left the actual restaurant feeling really crappy. And so old me would have been like, you're disgusting, you're gross, how could you do this? You're gonna gain weight, you're gonna blah, blah, blah. I had all these really negative, mean mental scripts that came up. And I'm like, no, stop that. I see you there. Let's stop. I'm not gonna give you power. Okay. But what can I say to myself to get back on track? So that night I was like, I don't like feeling this way. I'd like to make sure I don't feel this way tomorrow. Tomorrow I want to get back to where I was before. I've been eating really well. I've been moving a lot on this trip. I feel really good about that. Last night I went off track, but I enjoyed myself and it was fun and I ate some good food and I don't want to take away from that because that was fun, right? But tomorrow I want to recommit to my healthy behaviors because they're important to me because they make me feel the best, right? How are you going to recommit to the behaviors that are in line with your values? Okay. And then always great to have some reinforcers as well, right? So what can you say to yourself so you feel amazing when you make good choices, right? I think one time we left a restaurant and I was like, oh my God, I could have eaten that dessert, but we didn't eat that dessert. And I'm so happy we didn't because I actually feel just like I feel full, but not bloated and like I overate. I feel so good. Oh my gosh, I feel so good. This is like the right way I want to eat. This is the way I want to eat. Yes. Right. I give myself that reinforcer. Okay. A reinforcer for me, which is an extrinsic reinforcer, an external reinforcer, but it works. I'm actually someone that loves data and I love my fitness tracker. So what was reinforcing to me was to watch my fitness tracker. It's funny, it's telling me now that I need to stand, but my Apple Watch, it telling me that I was actually moving more than normal. I actually moved, almost 50% more than I typically do when I was on this vacation because I was moving around every day, not exercising like I do to the same degree that I do when I'm at home, but I was moving around a lot more there. And my fitness tracker was telling me that. It was telling me I was getting enough physical activity. It was telling me that I was standing every day, and that felt really good. So that's an external motivator, but it was some sort of accountability. So is there a type of accountability? Maybe it's like writing down at the end of the day all the healthy behaviors you feel good about that day, right? Is it maybe having a conversation with the people around you about keeping on track with your behaviors, okay? Is it just like how good you feel? Is that the reinforcer? And then you want to double down on that. Oh my God, I feel so good because I didn't drink too much last night. Oh my God, I'm so happy I didn't drink too much last night or else today would have been ruined. This tour today. Have you ever gone on a tour super hungover? I always remember I did one in New Orleans like a number of years ago, like 8 years ago. I drank way too much the night before. And then I was there actually by myself and I went on this like bayou alligator tour and I was on a boat feeling hungover and I felt terrible. It was a terrible experience and it ruined that experience. Right? And another story is when I was in Belgium a number of years ago, like I drank too much with a friend, and the next day we ended up missing our tour altogether. Right? So as a reinforcer, the fact that you're still able to do all the things you want to do because you're not engaging in behaviors that take you away from that. Right? So we did a really great tour on this last trip to the Whitsundays, a place called the Whitsundays, which is paradise, which is the most beautiful thing in the world. And the night before, my friends were drinking a bit, and I was like, actually, I'm going to have one glass of wine, and that's fine for me, because that tour is so important. And I had so much more fun on that tour because I didn't drink so much, right? So that's a reinforcer, okay? And then, as always, we want to remember that mental health is so important. So I don't want you to feel restrictive on your vacation. I don't want you to feel the entire time you're on vacation that like, oh my God, I ate this. I need to feel bad about this. Oh my gosh, I'm not exercising as much as normal. I'm gross. I'm disgusting. These old mental scripts that a lot of us tell ourselves, that doesn't belong on vacation, right? We need to prioritize our mental health. Eating well helps us take care of our mental health. Moving our bodies helps us take care of our mental health. But also sometimes you really just do need a rest on vacation. And sometimes that means on your vacation you want to not think about food and your health goals. Maybe it means you don't want to think about moving and your health goals. And maybe it means you just want to like do nothing. Like maybe you really need that, and that's okay too. So I'm not telling you how to act on your vacation, but I want to make sure that you feel like you enjoy whatever vacation, whatever weekend away, whatever money that you've invested in your enjoyment. You've invested money in your enjoyment. You want to make sure that you do get your money's worth and that you come back ideally still feeling good, or ideally still feeling like you're on track with your health behaviors if that's important to you. You want to come back feeling that you're kind of aligned with your values. So, it's very vague here. I just said like take care of your mental health because that's going to look really individual for you. But I never want to see for myself anymore shame or guilt come into my experience on my vacation. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself. What the hell else are we here for if we're not enjoying ourselves? But also how I feel in my body is really important to me. So when I take care of my health during vacation or not, when I'm not on vacation, I feel better. I feel better in my head, and that helps me enjoy my life more. And that is part of this new perspective on weight, right? This is part of this new weight paradigm. That it's about working with your body. It's about good mental health. It's about figuring out where you land best for yourself, right? And at the end of the day, it's about our experience in this world and making sure that, we don't look back on a vacation we took and we're like, well, I was so obsessed with my body that I couldn't have fun. Or I drank so much that I don't even remember it. Those are very two polar opposite places. But you want to make sure, like I keep saying, you want to make sure you get your money's worth. And how you come back feeling is part of you getting your money's worth for your vacation. Money's worth and time's worth. Okay, so that's all I really want to say today. Remember, as always, you deserve to feel amazing in the body that you have been given. You get this body. This is your body. You get to play with it. And maybe it doesn't fit into society's ideals of what your body should look like. Who gives a shit, right? This is your body. This is your life. This is your experience in this world. And you deserve to feel great in the body that you have. You have it. You can't trade it in. It's your body for life. So how do you make the most of your experience in this body? That is what the new weight paradigm is about, and that is what this video is about too. And if you do like this video, you do like this series, like I mentioned, likes, comments, and subscribes. Those are very helpful for reinforcing my behavior. If you're listening to this over a podcast, you're listening on Spotify, it's really helpful if you leave a review, really helpful if you give me 5 stars, if you do like it. Give me 5 stars, maybe even if you don't like it. And yeah, that's all I want to say for today. You're amazing. Enjoy your summer, enjoy your vacation. Like, we're here to have a good time in this life. So let's balance having a good time, enjoying ourselves, feeling good in our body, and like making sure we take care of this body long enough so we can have more good times. So as always, I'm Deanna Bedoya, and I will see you in the next one.